speaker today is Rod Lynch. Rod is a longtime resident of Davis County and is currently serving his 6th year on the school board. Rod has a wife, Stephanie, a son, Lincoln, and 2 daughters, Lexus and Lydia. Rod is currently employed at Cargill and Eddyville as the feed team leader. Please welcome Rod Lynch.
May 22nd, 1983, I walked across this stage and got my diploma. I remember, I'm showing my age, but I remember how excited I was that day. That day, I looked forward for a long time. I knew that when this day was over, I was going to be able to live out that dream and plan that I'd had for a long time, and that was to be a full-time farmer. I remember getting up that morning really early and going out and looking at the corn, and the corn was up about 4 inches tall, and it was as green could get. And I remember thinking that I don't think anything could get any better than that. Later that summer, Davis County experienced one of the worst droughts we'd had in a long time. And that corn that I was so proud of was gone. On September 12th of 1983, just 4 months after going across this stage, the exchange bank on the square was declared dissolvent, and all the money that I'd worked for and saved was gone. And I remember being pretty confused and not knowing what I should do. I remember that I had a lot of advice that I ought to go to college, and literally that was the last thing I ever wanted to do. And so I did. I took the advice of my parents, and I go to Indian Hills, and I signed up for the Arts and Science program, and I went, and I can tell you that I hated every second I was there. No discredit to Indian Hills. Indian Hills did exactly what they were supposed to do. The problem was I didn't have the attitude to be there. So I remember during that time I had a conversation with my neighbor, Gus Walker. You can imagine what that was. And Gus encouraged me to look into the machine technology program at Indian Hills. He told me that he thought I might like that, and he said it was a 2-year program, and when I got done, I could probably be a machinist and get a job at John Deere or some local industry. So I did that, and things went pretty well for me. Matter of fact, I had a job as a machinist before I got out of school. 1 year after I graduated from that machine technology course, I found myself laid off, and I was unemployed. Really confused. Really spent a lot of time just sitting around feeling sorry for myself, not knowing if there was really anything I could do that could be successful. And finally, through numerous conversations with my wife, Stephanie, we decided to start a new business here in Bloomfield. We decided we were going to build a machine shop right here in Bloomfield, and so we proceeded down the path of getting a loan and all the things you got to do to start a business. And one day the phone rang, and it was a lady at Job Service in Ottumwa. You don't know what Job Service is. It's a place you go to sign up for unemployment and also find out what jobs are available. And that lady said to me, she said, "Rod, Cargill and Eddyville is taking applications, and you need to come over and fill out an application." I said, "Ma'am, I have no desire to go to work at Cargill. I'm starting my own business." And she told me that she was glad for me, but it was important to realize that if I didn't, I would lose my unemployment immediately. At that time, my unemployment was $124 a week. Doesn't seem like a lot today, but it was an awful lot at that time. So I went, filled out the application, went back home, proceeded on, and a few weeks later, the phone rings again. Same lady, Job Service. She said, "Rod, Cargill and Eddyville wants to interview you here at our site in Ottumwa." So knowing what I knew about my unemployment, I went. And I remember that interview seemed like it took forever. I mean, she just asked question after question. It probably really wasn't that long. It was just that I didn't want to be there. And I remember the last question she said to me. She said, "Rod, do you realize that you're probably overdressed for this job?" I had a pair of blue jeans on and a sweater. She said, "You'll be scooping corn or coal 12 hours a day." And I said, "Ma'am, no disrespect, but I have no desire to go to work at Cargill. I'm in the process of starting my own business, and I'm only here because I need the unemployment. And that interview was over. I go home, a few weeks later, phone rings again, it's Cargill, or it's Job Service. Cargill wants me to come to their facility for another interview. The lady told me that I would have 3 30-minute interviews, and this would be the final interview. So I went, and I'll never forget, I went into the first 30-minute interview, and the guy talked to me about the Iowa Hawkeye football program, which I knew nothing about. The second guy talked to me about raising cattle and all the ins and outs of that. And the third one I've never forgot. I walked into this guy's office, and he was sitting at his desk looking down at some papers, and he did not acknowledge that I was there. So I just stood there, and finally he looked up at me, and he said, "Sit down." So I sat down. He continues to look down at these papers, and finally he looks up at me, and he said, "Young man, you realize you're going to be scooping corn or coal 12 hours a day?" I said, "Sir, no disrespect, but I have no intention to go to work here. I'm only here because I need unemployment and starting a new business." And that interview was over. I remember driving home from Eddyville that day, and I was so excited. I remember it was really good times because I finally got Cargill to realize I wasn't going to work there. And I remember pulling in the driveway of my house. At that time, Stephanie and I lived in a trailer house, and I remember just pulling in the driveway, and I could see Stephanie was up on the porch. And from a distance, it didn't look like her body language or facial expressions were very good, but I didn't think a whole lot about it. And I went ahead and I proceeded up the driveway, parked my truck, and I walked up to the porch. And I said, "How's it going?" She said, "How'd your interview go?" And I said, "It went really, really well." I told them there was 2 interviews. They didn't even talk about Cargill in the 3rd interview. I told the guy I wasn't going to work there. I said, "I don't think we have to worry about Cargill again. This is over." And I looked up at Stephanie, and her facial expressions and body language had worsened. I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "Rob, they want you to get a physical in the morning." So I was mad. Oh, I was mad. I had no idea what I was going to do to keep from having to go to work there and not be able to do my plan. So through numerous conversations, Stephanie made the suggestion that maybe it'd be 4 to 6 weeks before our loan came through, and maybe I should just go ahead and go to work there, and whenever the loan came through, I could quit. And so I did. And a few years later, I had an opportunity to meet with those 4 people that interviewed me, and I said to them, I said, "You know, I've got to understand what I did, what I said, and what you was thinking about when you hired me." And what was interesting was they said that they knew that I was a risk because I was in the process of starting my own business. And they also said that they appreciated my courage, my passion, and my attitude to have a plan. So anyway, and they told me, they said, "We felt that if we could get you in the door, you would like what we have to offer, and we think you could add some value to our organization." And they were right. I can tell you that Cargill's given me unlimited freedom to do the things that I enjoy the best. And this year, this November, will be 26 years, and I'm extremely grateful for that opportunity. I can also tell you for the record, I've never scooped corn or coal 12 hours a day. The reason I tell that story today is because I think it's important that several of you might be sitting in these chairs and you've got a plan, you've got a dream, and you're excited. You just wish I'd be quiet so you could move on. And I understand that, and I appreciate that. Though I think it's important to realize that not every plan, not every dream will work out. And what's important is to have and remember to have the attitude, the courage, and the passion to prop yourself up and just keep pushing forward until you can find happiness. Class of 2012, congratulations and thank you.